So Rose, tell me, why does it feel like it's been 6 months since we've been in the studio?
It does feel like 6 months.
It does. It really does.
What is going on with time?
It is time. Welcome to another edition of the Marketing Overdrive podcast. I'm your loyal host, Greg Kalikas, and the pound-for-pound queen of marketing, Rose Browning.
Oh, thank you.
Joins me as usual. Rose?
I'm doing great,
And I say this all the time, but I genuinely am super excited about tonight's episode. Not only because we're going to have in studio Mr. Joey Huang, who is one of, if not the elite auto dealership the guru in our great country. So we're going to have him here in studio, and I can't wait to speak to Joey. And of course, as you know, we like to cover certain lists on this podcast. So we're going to do our top 5 favorite podcasts towards the end of the episode, which should be pretty interesting.
Well, it's a hard one.
It is. There's so many to choose from these days, but since, we're doing a podcast, I figured it made sense. It was actually your idea. I'll credit to you on that one. But as we typically like to start the show, we're going to get into some industry news. And just to clarify a few things, it's not always technically going to be specific news. It might be an inspirational blog post or article or just something in general that we feel would provide value to our listeners. So it might be news, might not be, but for the point of this segment, it's marketing news. So with that, what do you got, Rose?
I'm going first. All
Yes.
right. So I have an article from Innis Majori, written by Mark Vandergrift. It is Programmatic Advertising Comes of Age. The idea of, 2020 and how COVID changed things and everybody was at home. I'll read a little bit. It just starts saying, imagine 2 neighbors both watching ESPN. One sees your ad and the other doesn't. The first is your target audience, the other isn't. The promise of programmatic advertising has finally reached marketing nirvana. The age-old problem of wasting 50% of your marketing budget on zero value impressions is over. So the idea of the article goes into how programmatic, specifically, connected TV and audio streaming really boomed in 2020. And the main idea is that so many people were at home. They were consuming their media differently. I know we've kind of hit on this a little bit with other things, but it goes into talking about how we can profile our users, demographics, geographics, psychographics, firmographics, and just how the targeting plays into who you're trying to reach, so that one-to-one relationship rather than just hitting everybody, right, with a blanket. I definitely would say go check out the article. There's a great illustration of how that connected TV or that programmatic process takes place. I'm going to read another little bit. Now that digital advertising is more than half of all ad spend, and programmatic is almost 88% of digital.
Wow.
It's fair to bestow the title of 2020 as the year of programmatic. I know it's been out there for a long time. We're saying that 2020 was the year that just catapulted it, jolted it, and just so everybody understands, the revolution of programmatic is here.
I would say the over-under for how many times we've said the word programmatic on this podcast is probably 6. Because that's a very popular, and for good reason, and you just illustrated it. And it's kind of counterintuitive, because I remember once COVID hit last year, everybody hit the panic button, pausing campaigns, if not canceling. And I'm out there screaming like, wait a minute, that's the wrong strategy. Everybody is online right now. Now is the time to really hit the audience. And you mentioned that the targeting these days can get so granular. I mean, it was a golden opportunity to really dive in, and unfortunately, people came around, but it took a little bit too long.
Yeah, a lot of brands, I think they went dark in their marketing, and this, in Q1 and now going into Q2, we're really seeing people amp it up, right? They're scrambling to get back in market, and to your point, programmatic offers us not only the ability to hit the third-party audiences, but if you've built those lists, if you have those lists of people who are best customers, we can reach them or people who look like them. First-party data, right?
Well, and again, digital marketing, part of the strategy is building momentum. So if you had an ongoing campaign and you hit the pause button, again, something that this world hasn't seen for some time, so I don't think people knew how to react, understood, but better late than never. Good article. I would urge people to go to innismajority.com and read that. Well, I'm going to go a little different direction. And this, again, isn't necessarily a news article.
It's fun.
It's great. And you know, I'm a sports guy, right?
Yeah.
And we always talk about on this show, you know, that different facets of a marketing agency have to work together in order for the campaign to ultimately be successful. So what better way than to use a sports analogy? And I found the perfect one.
No way, you.
Yes. And again, this is not a sports show. I know we're a few episodes in, and so far we've had Browns guests and ESPN. Believe me, it's not a sports show. But on that note, on accelerateddigitalmedia.com, this was posted a few months back, and it compares what a digital marketing agency team would look like compared to a football team. So, of course, with a football team at any level, you've got offense, defense, special teams, and I'll throw your coaching in there, which is an important element. So they broke down the offense as your customer acquisition team. So the offense of a football team is responsible for scoring you points. The offense of your digital marketing plan is responsible for finding new customers, bringing them to your site, and ultimately converting them. If you don't have a good offense, doesn't matter how strong your defense is, you can't win if you don't score points. Same goes for marketing. Your customers are not just going to magically find you. You have to go out and show your customers why they should do business with you. And they kind of broke it down a little further. They said 80% of your plays should be bread and butter plays that consistently keep the ball moving upfield. Or in marketing terms, your content should be the same way. 80% of your content should be aligned with the values of your core product and the reason your customers should do business with you. So in a nutshell, that's your offense. Defense, they're saying, is the customer purchase experience. So the defense protects your points and makes sure you keep a healthy lead on your opponents. So in marketing, the defense is your website and your customer funnel experience. Your offense can score a lot of points, but if your defense gives it all away, you're not getting anywhere. So a defense's job is to contain, and the same goes for your marketing strategy. Are you with me so far?
I'm with you.
Special teams are your niche marketing tools. So on a football team, special teams are the smaller but just as important roles that keep you in a game. In marketing, your special teams are SEO, influencer marketing, and of course, customer service. They keep you in the game and attack your competition in ways that your offense and defense cannot.
Okay.
And then finally, what they're calling your sidelines, the digital marketing blueprint, aka coaching, is essentially where you'll find your marketing directors and coaches. So people that you look to in your department as a certain director of media, for example, would be. So again, pretty good article.
I like that.
Very creative,
yes.
And I think easy to understand.
It puts a whole new spin on funnel.
Very good. I like that. All right. Well, real quick, just some housekeeping items before we get to our featured interview. I don't know if you saw this, Rose, but if people want to reach out to us now and if they have questions, they can go to yourbusinessmarketer.com/podcast and submit your questions to us. Whether you just want to email us and tell us the show sucks, or they hate Greg, or if you have questions, marketing related, whatever it may be, shoot it over to us, and I'm sure we'll squeeze it in at an upcoming episode.
That is awesome. I did want to say thank you to all the people who've reached out to me on LinkedIn.
Yes, it's amazing.
It has been amazing, and it's nothing but love. I have already, just connected with all sorts of people in the marketing media world who have just really loved what we're doing here. So keep reaching out.
Yeah, it's kind of been a little surprising, the response we've gotten. And, we're only a couple, and that's another question I'm getting. How often are we going to release episodes? For now, it's going to be every 2 weeks. So we've dropped 2. We're going to be dropping another tomorrow, or Wednesday, which I know doesn't matter for the sake of this conversation, but for those wondering, every 2 weeks there will be a new Your Business Marketer podcast.
Awesome.
Well, it is time for our featured interview, and this is one, Rose, I've been, so excited about.
Yes.
Joining us in studio, he is actually the president of Great Lakes Auto Network and Great Lakes Honda here in Akron, Mr. Joey Huang. Thank you for making time out of your incredibly busy schedule to join us here tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Rose. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. Made it convenient. I live right here in Hudson. It's right downtown.
Awesome.
Doing my homework and getting ready for the interview. In 2017, you were nominated by Time Magazine for Time Dealer of the Year Award, which included a select group of only 49 dealership owners in the entire country. So one of 49 people in the country, and it's the most prestigious award in your industry. Now, I would imagine that had to feel pretty amazing for you, but also for your entire team. And I know we were talking a little bit before the show started, and you were praising how amazing your team is. And I wanted to make sure to call that out.
Well, thank you. Yes. Here I'm only as good as the people that I have with me, right? You hear a lot of people say that, but it is just true. If you had one store, sure, you could manage it by yourself. When you have 5 dealerships, over 300 employees, you really do depend on people. You really do have that.
Which are the top 500 influencers in the Cleveland Dma for 2021. The list included so many notables. Just to name a few: Browns owners Jimmy and Dee Haslam, celebrity chef Rocco Whalen, Governor Mike DeWine, Mayor Frank Jackson. What does making a list like that mean to you?
At first, I was kind of like, why did I make that top 500? and I think a lot of it has to do, when I talked to them and they interviewed me, it has more to do. I'm born and raised in a small town, Ashtabula, Ohio. And so many times in the competition, we're from the big nation, big people, big personalities, big money, and so forth. For me, my gift has been in small town, rural markets, yet making my business grow here.
Wow. And I'm going to go a little off script here. I've known you literally for less than 45 minutes, and we had an amazing conversation before we came on the air.
Yeah.
But you come across as clearly humble, sincere, quick to give credit to everyone else. But one thing that I mentioned earlier, that's all great, and I'm sure it's true, but at the same time, you don't get to the level of success that you've had without, in a sense, creating your own luck and having a work ethic, and, it didn't just fall on your lap. So you need to take some credit, I think, as well.
Thanks, Greg. Again, I appreciate it. I think I've been very lucky, very blessed, very fortunate. Do I have incredible work ethic? I do. I'm a workaholic. I love my job. It doesn't feel like work. And, I'm thankful for it. You know what? For me, growing up, I'm actually a dentist. Graduated from dental school at Ohio State. My whole family's physicians. My dad delivered over 4,500 babies in Ashtabula. I never thought I'd be a car dealer, right? It was just a completely different path. 4 years of private boarding school here in Hudson, 4 years of college, and then 4 years of dental school, and now I'm running car dealerships.
And we'll get into that for sure, because that was fascinating to me. But as a marketer, typically when I'm doing research on a company or business, the first thing I check is their reviews. And Great Lakes Honda, one of your amazing dealerships, for example, has over 3,000 Google reviews with a rating of 4.7. Now, I've got to say, that's rare for any auto dealership. And again, your business marketer, our background is working with auto dealerships. So we're familiar with marketing, and when you're dealing with that many people, it's almost impossible to keep everyone happy. So how did you do it? What is the secret? Obviously, it's customer service, but shed some light on that for us, if you don't mind.
Don't we just pay a fee to Google and they just give us some great?
Depending on who you talk to, yes.
I wish it was that
Yes.
easy. I really do. And in the Honda world, it's probably even tougher. I own many different brands, and let me say, our Honda customers are probably the picky. They're more attention to detail. And let me say my Kia customer. Right? My Kia customer is going to be a different customer that's happy to have the vehicle and maybe not as stringent on the product. So keeping Honda customers is even harder.
Oh.
And at that store, we do have great people. Our people don't leave that work for us. They pay attention to detail. We're not perfect, but one thing we do is we consistently try to work toward it, right? Train toward it, reward for it, and we're very fortunate there.
Yeah.
And, to be at a 4.7 out of 5 with Honda right here in Akron, it's great.
Yeah, and you said it, reward to retain. It's important when you find good people. You want to keep them around, so you take care of them, and good people are hard to find. I don't know that we say it all the time.
All the time, yeah.
Now, I read somewhere that you actually recently sold 3 of your dealerships. Is that something that you want to talk about?
I'm fine with talking about it.
All right, because I'm curious to know, why? Why is it you're just at a point in your life, or did the market change, or what goes into making a decision like that?
So I started out in Ashtabula. Very lucky to get a Chevrolet store in my late 20s, and it was the perfect size. So 10 new cars, 10 used cars a month, 17. To give you and it sold about, right now, it still only sells about 500 cars a year. But to give you an example of what it can get to, our Honda store employs 130 people and sells over 5,000 cars a year.
Wow.
Okay. So 2 big differences, only an hour and 20 minutes from each other. And so, 2 different size stores. I have that Chevrolet store, a Buick GMC truck store in Ashtabula, and then a Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram store. Collectively, all 3 stores sell about 2,000 cars a year. And so we had somebody who came to us that wanted to buy the store, Mike Thompson of Montrose Auto Group, phenomenal guy. And looking for his son to expand with it. He had a great leader of Todd Mullen from Ashtabula, and they purchased it from us. So it turned out to be a big winner for both of us.
Sure, win-win. Rare in business, especially these days. So thank you very much for shedding some light on that. And again, with the auto industry, it's got to be, if not the most competitive, among the most competitive industry that you can think of. So what is, as far as your you don't have to get into your marketing strategy. And again, obviously customer service is a big part of your success. But when you are building and deploying a campaign, and I'm sure you have people that mostly manage that, can you tell us a little bit about maybe what are the important elements or key factors that you're looking for in a campaign?
So in a campaign, first, there's got to be 2 sides, right? We got to bring a great campaign to the market, and then number 2, we got to be able to answer it, right? All right, so many of us bring great campaigns, and then when the response comes to the store or the dealership, we don't know how to handle it. All right, those are 2 really
That's
important
a great
things,
point.
Right? I mean, there's so many of us who get upset that, oh my God, I didn't get the return on my investment. Maybe the store wasn't ready for it. Okay?
Yes.
So, that's a big part there. For when we come to the market, each brand comes differently, right? So, again, with our Honda store, we're specifically talking about right now, we are going to come with a better digital presence. But you have to have brand. So we use TV to brand Great Lakes Honda so that when people see it digitally, they know what it stands for, right? So we combine a little bit of both to make it happen. But, things have changed for us in the market a lot.
Sure.
And I know this is probably a future question that's coming up. But I will tell you this, how much our market has changed.
Yes, please.
When I first came in, it was easy, right? With TV, radio, and even on TV, you just had a few stations, and the newspaper, right? But now you come in, you still have all those sources, but now you got all this digital stuff coming in.
Yes.
And you have everybody coming in your dealership bringing all these different ideas to you, and you get confused.
Sure.
But you know what? One thing I've learned, whatever medium you decide to choose, you really have to do a lot of it. You gotta dominate it. You gotta be very good at it. Those guys who are really good at what they do are the ones who tend to win.
That's amazing. That's so I wish everybody kind of had that attitude. And I'm not talking about just throwing, your money at marketing. It's about having that aggressive approach, and just don't just necessarily dip your toe in the water and then pull out. It's important to have that type of mindset. And I think you have a question, Rose.
Yeah, no, digital marketers, Greg and I, and kind of that whole industry, sometimes we have to overcome this perception of being shady or lacking integrity. The same can be said about the auto industry. Is that something you intentionally try to address, or do you feel that the service and results will just kind of speak for themselves?
Well, Rose, that hits right at home. Why do I tell you that? I'm an Asian American. My father's from Taiwan and my mom's from South Korea. And probably the most important thing they care about is our reputation. And, they knew if we were educated, we were going to be accepted in our communities and so forth. And being doctors, it was even another step of being accepted and respected. So I promise you, when I told them I wanted to go in the car business, they were screaming, crying. Because the car business can come with a tough reputation, right? I've been a dealer here now in Cleveland for over 20 years. And I'll tell you what, our dealer body is a wonderful group of owners. They care about their communities, they care about their reputation, they care about their customers. There's only a couple that give us a tough reputation. And I can surely tell you that after 20 plus years here. Now, because of that tougher reputation that we come by, we're consistently trying to make sure we are training our people toward it and then overcoming that reputation, right?
Right.
And that's an important part of our business. And I'm sure in your business too.
Yes.
Everyone can say it. It's those that can have the results, right?
Yes.
Show me that you can do it. Show me that your Google reviews are strong.
Yeah.
Show me that you're selling a lot of cars. A big reward for us, in 2014, we bought Mike Pruitt Honda right here in Akron, Cuyahoga Falls. And Mike used to sell about 1,500 cars a year. This store now, with just those ideas that we shared, now sells over 5,000 cars a year.
That's
It's been
amazing.
very rewarding for us. We're the largest Honda store in Northern Ohio, and we've grown. When we first started with that store, I had 60 to 70 employees. We now have over 130. Right? It comes with doing the right thing and realizing this is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yes. I love that.
Yeah, that's fun. And hopefully if there's, inspiring entrepreneurs out there, take this conversation to heart, because that is some, you're hearing it firsthand from somebody who's been there, done it, had to overcome, everybody's got their challenges in life, but, it's just amazing. To see where you've come from and where you're at now. And that's truly remarkable. And you talked about COVID a little bit and some of the impacts it had. But if you had to pick one thing that really, made your life difficult during, the whole COVID thing, what would that be?
Greg, I think it would be, right? Because with COVID, you weren't sure when people were going to get sick and when they're not, right? And having enough people with your team so that way when someone does go down, or it's a matter of when they go down, you're going to have enough coverage to be able to handle it. That was the number one part for us. But when I heard Rose talking about marketing and so forth, in the dealer world, there were so many dealers that last year in March and April who decided to come off the air in whatever source of advertising they did. And you know what? I will tell you, for us, we stayed with what we did. And, more people heard us because more people were at home and not working. And it gave us a chance to build our brand even harder. And it was a big time for us and for other dealers who stayed in it. Bob Serpentini with Serpentini Chevrolet, another big advertiser, and he didn't pull back. And what ended up happening for all of us who stayed in it, we continued to grow through coronavirus. Yes, it was tough through March and early April. But I'm going to tell you what, 2020 was a phenomenal year in the car business for us.
That's fantastic.
That really is. And it's, before you came into the studio, we were literally talking about that exact same thing, how, smart business owners didn't necessarily panic and pull the plug. And not to say, I'm sure a lot of smart people did. Again, this is new territory. Nobody knew what they were dealing with. But it's interesting to say that you kept the momentum going, and turns out you had an amazing year. No surprise there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, so in general, even, out of COVID, just in general, from the first dealership that you opened, how has the auto industry changed, just in general?
It definitely changed in our marketing, right? As we talked earlier on,
yeah.
Right? We went from just simple advertising, reach out to them through the TV or the newspaper, or the radio, to many different sources today. I'd actually hate to be a politician today and try to get out there and spend this money correctly on how to get my name out there, right?
Yep.
It'd actually get confusing, I would think.
It's unfortunate because you would be a great politician.
Yes.
I was going to actually say that. I'm sorry.
Thanks, Greg. I'm not sure if I'd ever go there because I'm going to tell you, I'm not sure if that's you can never make everybody happy there either. That's a tough job there.
No, man.
Not for me.
But, I'd say how the industry changed. Our product has definitely improved where, before in the past, one manufacturer is much better than another. In today's market, all of our cars are pretty well made, right? And so it's made your dealership, the dealer that you are, more competitive today to make sure that you deliver a great customer experience. You have a clean, acceptable dealership, and you market well, and stand behind your product.
Well, you hit on a great point. Let me ask you about that. As far as all cars are essentially made the same. Obviously, there's exception, but they're all, high quality for the most part. Then why is it that someone like me that owns a Nissan, who absolutely loves it, Nissans are considered a lesser brand than, let's say, a Mercedes? Why is that?
Greg, you had to go there.
I had to. You got me all riled up when you told me that.
You know what? There's a combination of a few things. Really, like we were talking in the general public, we may not know the difference between, let's say, a Nissan or a Honda or, an Acura or a Mercedes, right? Some people, but for the dealer world, we look at it based on long-term profitability and long-term sales. And I will say those companies that have the best leaders, our best CEOs, and they're not turning over, give long-term vision to their brand, are those that us dealers want to be with.
Very good.
Great.
Politically correct statement.
That is very
That
PC.
was
Again,
well
the
said.
perfect politician right
That
here.
was well said.
Well, I can't gloss over it. You mentioned it. We got to talk about it. So you went to dental school, graduated. 2 questions. Why did you decide, the hell with this for sure, 6-figure career that'll make my parents happy, to go into such a risky business like owning a used car dealership? And second, were your parents pissed? And how pissed were they? Because I know they were.
You talk about 4 years of private education. I went to school right up here at Western Reserve Academy, and today I think that school's over $50,000 a year. Plus 4 years of undergraduate college and then 4 years of dental school. My father spent a lot of money making sure that I was going to be a dentist. Right? Were my parents pissed? Yeah, they were tear broken. Crying. My best story is 6 years ago. Go to Taiwan for my grandfather's 100th birthday party. And we're there, and my dad continues to, or introduced me to all his cousins and brothers as a dentist. Oh. And I'm like, Dad, hey, I'm a car dealer for over 10 years. He goes, shut up. This is my trip.
Good for him.
You'll be a dentist. But,
Wow.
my best part about that statement of why, I'm following my heart. Truly, if there's any advice I can give anyone out there when they're looking for a career path, is if you truly love what you do, you're going to be great at it.
Yep.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
You don't want to be the jack of all trades. You want to be the master of that one, right? And you got to love it, because if you don't love it, I'm going to tell you what, 15 years later, you're going to be upset that you decided, I'm going to be an accountant because, my uncle was, or my dad was, or whatever you may say. Because if you don't really love those numbers, you're not going to love your job.
We say it all the
We
time.
have it,
We
yes.
really do. And the proof is in the pudding. And
Yes.
if we never do another podcast again, Rose,
Yes.
I'm content.
You're happy now.
My mission has
It
been
is
accomplished,
done.
because here it is. This is why we're doing this podcast, to share these type of stories, to, again, hopefully inspire others to follow along the same road. And speaking of great things that you've done, talk to us about the Edu Car Program that you've initiated.
So Edu Car started, Ashtabula County, small town, small rural market, 100,000 people in the county, median household income of $37,000. we're always cutting budget in that market. And where's it cut? Typically in the schools. So what we thought of is if we donated a car and all the county schools, I think 9 of them, their school systems could sell raffle tickets and they keep 100% of the money and, for what we donate. And typically it's about a $25,000 car. In the first year, I think they sold about $20,000 in tickets, and I was like, oh my God. But honestly, afterwards, it kept on going. It got better and better. And, over $250,000 were donated to local schools in Ashtabula County.
Wow.
That
incredible.
is incredible. We've talked about you being heavily invested in improving your community and being a part of that. I've read that you've raised more than $1 million for Rainbow Babies in children's hospitals. Where did that passion come from?
Well, it's easy when you have a dad who's delivered 45.
Hey.
That helps.
Yeah, it does. It does.
As being brought up as a doctor's child, we're always about giving back to our community. Coming from a small towns live by giving back to your community. Let it be financially or with your time, right? And, Rainbow Babies in Cleveland, phenomenal hospital, actually nationally renowned. University is a great hospital. We're blessed to have 2 wonderful hospitals in this market, right?
Oh,
Cleveland
for sure.
Clinic, University Hospitals. You really couldn't ask for more.
Right.
And, for us, it's all of the Hyundai dealers in Cleveland and the participation from Hyundai Motor Company. For every car we sell with Hyundai, it gets donated right here at University Hospitals. And I will tell you now, it's now over $2.3 million to pediatric cancer research at University Hospitals.
That's amazing.
Yeah, incredible. Gave me goosebumps for a second. Well, as if everything you've accomplished hasn't been enough. And again, haven't known you that long, but one thing I know for sure is that you're not done. So talk to us about maybe what is that next challenge on the horizon that you're looking to attack?
Wow. I'd like to continue growing. I have 5 stores right now and wonderful manufacturers. That's a big drive of mine. But like any father, I have 4 sons, and there's probably nothing more important to me than making sure these 4 boys get back to their communities, help their communities. They're not takers from their community, right?
Right.
You're either a maker or you can be a taker. Nothing more important to me than for them to be great people in our community too.
Love that.
Yeah, and again, I could literally talk to you for
Me
3
too.
hours, and I can't thank you enough for your generosity with your time, just giving us that wonderful insight. And I'm sure people that are listening are going to want to learn more about you. And for people that do want to buy a car from you or whatever the case may be, hire you for a speaking engagement, which I would pay for now.
I would.
How can they track you down?
Really through any of our websites. So glakeshonda.com, glakeshondawest.com, and then greatlakeshyundai.com. It's the Great Lakes dealerships that we have here. I've been the chairperson for Greater Cleveland Auto Dealers for the last 2 years here. We have a wonderful dealer body. Would I like everyone to buy from Great Lakes and Joey Huang? I absolutely would.
There you go. Well said, my friend. Thank you again so much, and hopefully we get a chance to do this again in the future.
Yes.
All right, Rose, it is that time where we typically break down or share our top 5 list of something or other. Today, it's going to be our top 5 favorite podcasts. So like we usually do, we'll go from number 5 back to number 1.
Okay.
Ladies first, what's your number 5?
Marketing Over Coffee with John J.
That is a good
Wall.
one.
You like that
It's
one?
on my playlist. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Marketing
All right,
Over
you.
Coffee.
Yes, your turn.
Well, before I give my number 5, I want to give a honorable mention. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Swing and a Drive. It's a Cleveland
Swing and a
Indians baseball podcast that I was just recently turned on to. So I haven't listened that much, which is probably why it didn't crack my top 5. But if you're an Indians fan specifically, go check it out. It's on Apple Podcasts. It really kind of takes a deeper dive into what's going on a game-to-game basis. So
Okay.
for a diehard fan like me, check it out. All right, perfect transition to number 5, the Orange and Brown Talk podcast.
No way.
Hey, it's my only Browns podcast on the list. I had to put at least one. But this features different beat reporters that all come together and talk Cleveland Browns. So, of course, it's on my list. All right, number 4.
It's not a surprise that
No,
that's on your
not
list. Okay. The Paid Search Podcast with Chris and Jason. All search, PBC, pay-per-click, fantastic.
Oh, you are such a marketing nerd. Only a true marketing nerd would listen to a PPC podcast.
It's amazing.
Wow.
It's amazing.
So helpful, though? Are you learning stuff
Oh
from
my
it?
gosh, all the time. And I know that space, but all the time. I mean, they keep it fun and it's entertaining and all of those things. But yeah, no, absolutely check it out.
Boy, again, I'm not going to have a single marketing podcast on my
I have
list.
two that really
Okay.
aren't. Okay.
Number 4 for me is a podcast called Time Suck.
That.
S-U-C-K. It is a podcast by Dan Cummins, and it's about conspiracy theories in
heavens.
history. And Rose, I know you are a big fan of conspiracy theories, but it's actually a really kind of a unique take on, going down the rabbit hole, so to speak.
That's
and I'm a history
hilarious.
buff too, as you'll see later in my list. But yeah, Time Suck. Check it out.
Hilarious. Okay. Number 3, Joe Rogan Experience.
It's number 3 on my list too.
Oh, really?
Yes, I swear.
Wow. Hey.
Awesome.
Well, that would be a first that we were in line like that.
That is, I'm actually surprised it's on your list. I didn't know you were a Joe Rogan fan.
I am a Joe Rogan fan. Well, my husband likes the podcast as well, so yeah.
Does he still like it ever since he switched to Spotify? Because I got to tell you, it would have been number 1 on my list about a year ago this time.
Oh.
And I'm not digging, what's going on in the Joe Rogan world right now.
Oh.
Well, and again, hearsay, well, kind of, because there's actually people that are blogging about it.
Okay.
But apparently Spotify is dictating which guests Joe can and can't have on his show. And they've actually pulled about 50 of his old episodes from the platform.
Wow.
Which, that's not kosher for
Not
me,
a
man. It's
fan.
still America, right?
Yeah, not a fan of that.
Get the whole Me Too thing and all. It's a different time we live in. But I figured Joe would stand up and say, hey,
This is my stuff.
but, $100 million talks. And I can't say if I
tricky.
was in his shoes, I would have done anything different. But anyway,
All
number
right,
3
that's
for
tricky.
me.
All right, number 2 for me. It's called How'd You Do It? And it's Stephen Amell and Andrew Harding.
That sounds familiar.
They have a wine company called Knocking Point. I hope I have that right. But they're great guys. Stephen Amell is an actor. He was on Arrow and a couple other things, which is kind of how I found him, and I absolutely love his acting. So, but great podcast. I mean, they get into all sorts of different things, and, they do talk about kindness in one of their episodes, which is a big deal for me.
And what's it called?
How'd You Do It?
How'd you do it? Interesting. I'm going to have to check it out.
Yes.
Very nice. Number 2 for me, the Jocko podcast.
The Jocko?
Yeah, Jocko. And if you recall, when we did our top 5 marketing influencers,
Yes.
Jocko was on my list.
Yes.
So he also has a podcast that in
Okay.
2 words, leadership and discipline.
Okay.
That's what this podcast is about. Military vet, motivational speaker. He's actually been on Joe Rogan a
Okay.
dozen times, so you'll have to
right.
check that out.
Yep.
Never a dull moment. So check out the Jocko podcast.
I love those podcasts. All right, number 1 for me. You want to guess?
Is it ours?
No. Well, we're not allowed. It's 5 podcasts that aren't ours. All right, I'm going to say it.
Yeah,
The Gary
Gary
V
V,
Experience.
I should have known. I am so disappointed in myself.
You know it. It's my favorite. There's just no way around it. Gives me fire. Always learn something. Yeah.
Does he drop one every day or how often?
I don't even know how often. I mean, there have been times when there was one every day. The dates were every day, so I'm not sure. But I mean, he's on YouTube as well. Some of those, cross but not always. So, I mean, I'm listening to him on YouTube. I'm listening to him on Spotify. I'm watching his videos. So, yeah.
That's interesting. And I don't know how this guy finds time to do anything, let alone do his own podcast, although I'm not surprised. I'm sure it's pretty good. Does he cuss a lot?
Oh, he cusses.
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
So there's nobody limiting what he can say or who he can have on. That's Gary
I'm
freaking
not
V.
sure that he would allow I don't know. I don't know what that looks like.
Fair enough. All right. Well, number one for me, History Unplugged.
Really?
Yes, I'm a huge history buff, Rose. And I don't know if that's
and
surprising.
I'm a nerd.
You're a marketing nerd. That's a different kind of nerd. I guess you can call me a history nerd. But it talks about everything from World War I down to, the Trojan War.
Oh my gosh.
And again, it's kind of a unique spin and perspective, sheds some light on stories that, aren't necessarily common. And, he's kind of got a good delivery about him. It's a great podcast. And
okay.
It's number one. And you mentioned something, technically the most listened to, I guess you can't call it a podcast for me, is Mark Felton Productions, another war podcast. But it's not technically a podcast because it's only on YouTube. So how does that, I
don't know.
I don't think it's a podcast if it's just YouTube and it's video. So
no, I don't think he's a YouTuber.
Yeah, he's a YouTuber.
Yeah.
So that's
All right.
it.
That was good. That was a good one.
List.
Good combo.
Well, that brings us to a conclusion. A quick thank you to Your Business Marketer for, again, stepping up and supporting the show. A results-driven digital marketing agency. Go to yourbusinessmarketer.com for more information. Again, a reminder, if you want to submit questions to us, feel free. Go to Your Business Marketer, hit the podcast tab, and you can shoot those over to us. Rose, how can people track you down?
Yep. As always, alongside Greg, I'm your media maven, Rose Browning, Director of Media at Innis Majori. If you want to work with me or find out more, just go to innismajori.com.
That's it. Until next time.
Yep. Bye.